All right, this first story is one you might have actually seen on the news. It happened at a 7-Eleven in Thailand where a woman grabbed this video with her phone. I want to tell you, catch that, I want to tell you that when I saw this, I thought, boy, that new Godzilla versus Kong movie has some pretty cheap special effects. It looks more like Godzilla versus cans. It is actually a giant monitor lizard. That's a real thing, Keith, scaling the shelves. Now, it's still not the scariest looking shopper I've ever seen in a 7-Eleven, I'll tell you that. You've probably been in a few yourself, haven't you? Oh, yeah. Monitor lizards are among the biggest reptiles in the world. Well, outside of Washington, D.C. But unlike those Washington reptiles, these are relatively harmless. And I'll bet New York City has rats that are bigger than that. Now, the story didn't say how they finally removed the lizard, but I'm guessing they told the lowest paid worker, clean up on aisle 4, and that's how they did it.
I didn't know they had 7-Elevens in Thailand. I'm not over that yet.
Well, with lizards, that makes it even more special.
Yeah.
You want a Slurpee and a lizard? There you go. All right, next up, you've got nail. Congratulations to Iona Williams of Texas for nailing the Guinness record for the world's longest fingernails. Get a load of this. She grew them to 288.8 inches long before finally cutting her nails. By the way, that's 24 feet of fingernails.
Am I the only one that wants to know how she uses the bathroom?
I'm pretty sure you are the only one that wants to know that, because I don't want to know.
I bet you couldn't play the piano either.
I'm sure. By the way, I think she also held the records for the world's worst typist, as well as the world's slowest texter.
Absolutely.
By the way, I thought Texans only went in for big hair. Anyway, her nails will now go on permanent display at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Orlando. What a thrill. I think I may go to Orlando just to see somebody's fingernails.
Ought to do the whole show there.
Take it down there and show it. Yeah, we'll nail that one for sure. Anyway, she hadn't trimmed her fingernails in 30 years. I know that sounds hard to believe, but I bet there are plenty of men who haven't trimmed their toenails in 30 years. We got a lot of women out in the audience looking at their husbands right now. You know that? Next is this story from South Korea. There was a couple caught on video at an art museum in front of a wall that appeared to be covered with just some sloppy graffiti. There were some paint cans and brushes that were on the floor. They assumed it was an interactive exhibit, so they picked up some brushes and they smeared paint all over it themselves. Guess what? They got arrested for vandalizing a modern artwork that was valued at $500,000.
Wow. Ooh.
Boy, talking about a brush with the law.
You're killing me.
I know. They're lucky it didn't happen in North Korea, I'll tell you that. Anyway, the museum dropped the charges after deciding that it really was an honest and a completely understandable mistake. In fact, I kind of think the museum should hire that couple, because if they can't tell the difference between an ugly wall of graffiti and a valuable artwork, they're definitely qualified to work there. Don't you think?
Governor, I'm so sorry. I always hate to interrupt you, but
no, you don't.
This takes me back. I've got a second cousin, third removed. His name is Joe, and he went to a big museum, art museum in Washington, D.C. Now, Joe's not the sharpest tool in the box, you understand that?
I understand.
The guide was taking him through, and he came upon this painting, and Joe says, "Ooh, that is ugly." Well, the museum guide, he turned red in the face and got that look on his face like you hillbilly. Hey, he said, "Sir, that's a Picasso." Well, old Joe, of course, didn't know Picasso from Adam. So they went on a little further, and just like Joe does, he suddenly looks at this thing on the wall and he says, "Ooh, that is ugly." Well, the guy just smiled, kind of got a smirk, and he said, "That, sir, is a mirror." Yeah, happened.
I'll bet that mirror wasn't worth anything after Joe looked at it, right?
It broke, actually.
Oh, boy. Hey, finally, I love a good dog story, and this is my idea of a good dog. There was a reporter on Russian TV doing a live remote shot when a golden retriever came rushing up to her, grabbed her microphone right out of her hand, and took off running with it.
Yes.
Look at her go. I mean, she is running toward that microphone like Chuck Schumer, right? That's some golden retrieving.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he's a smart dog.
Yeah.
He knows Russian propaganda when he hears it.
Wow.
You know what? I think the Republicans ought to train dogs to do that to CNN reporters.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was
Yeah. Well, before someone sends a dog to fetch my microphone away, we better end it here. But always remember that we read the news. Now, if you want more videos like that one, hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell right next to it. And if you leave a comment, positive or negative, I'll be sure that my dog Toby sees it and responds to you in kind.